I don't know about you, but I have made New Year's resolutions in the past. Many people have. But, it revolves around us deciding we want to do things better. We have a goal that we want to achieve, losing weight or increasing exercise or giving more compliments or saying no more often. But often, not all the time, but often, we don't always keep up with our resolutions. I want to tell you what we're about to do is not about resolutions, but about our intentions and our hope for the new year. An unknown author wrote, "One tree can start a forest. One bird can herald spring. One smile can begin a friendship. One word can frame the goal. One vote can change a nation. One sunbeam can light a room. One candle can wipe out the darkness. One laughter can conquer gloom. One hope can raise our spirits. One life can make a difference." May this new year call us forward with mystery and possibility, with hope and intention. So we're going to move into this time of a new ritual, a ritual for hope and intention for the new year. Now this ritual was created by Unitarian Universalist religious educator Martha Dallas. So I'd ask you to take out your acorn now, and what I would like you to do during this ritual is just hold it in your hand. And we're going to talk about something that's very powerful. Hope. Have you ever hoped for something? And what thing that you hoped for, did you find that it came to pass? Sometimes they do. Our hope today is represented by these acorns that we hold. And for those of you online, if you have an object that represents hope to you, I would say hold it in your hand right now. This acorn, one day, will become an oak tree. And I know that's the only thing it really can be, but it's not a sure thing. There's an element of hope involved. If you were to just drop that acorn on the floor right here, right now, and walk away, it wouldn't become, or it would be unlikely that it would become an oak tree. It needs soil and water and air and sunshine. Like acorns, our hope needs other things to come to life. First, it starts with our imagination. We have to imagine what we are hoping for. So I want you to take a moment just to let your eyes rest and take a breath and bring to mind what you are hoping for this year, this 2022. Just allow it to come into you, into your body, into your mind, into your heart. You don't need to search for it. Just open yourself up to your imagination of what you might hope for this new year. And as you imagine it, in your own way, move that hope into your acorn. Let it become a representation of your hope. I know that your hope will need some things to grow. A little work, care, action, help from others. Perhaps even some luck to come to life. Like this acorn to become an oak tree. So I want you to hold on to that acorn. Hold on to it as a sign of the power of hope in your life. I don't want you to focus on how you will achieve your hope. I just want you to imagine what you hope for and put that into your acorn. And so whenever you see this acorn, wherever you put it in your home, someplace that you can see it, perhaps where you'll see it regularly, that the hope that you create today will drive your imagination and action over the next year. And every time you are infused with a little hope and imagination, it will begin to affect your work, how you care for yourself and others, the actions you take in the world, the help that you get from others. And maybe even with a little luck, your hope will come to life. I don't want you to see this acorn as something to achieve or not achieve, but as a reminder of what is possible if you bring hope and intention back into the front of your mind and into your heart regularly. Think of this as a meditation practice, mindfully looking at your acorn and opening yourself up to hope each time you see it. I'd like us to end this ritual with these words. I accept hope and intention into my life this year. Please join me. I accept hope and intention into my life this year. That was Leah Morris. She's a friend, and she allowed us to use her music this morning. Keep bumping into this mask. I don't know about you, but I am just ready to let go of COVID. I'm exhausted, and I just worried all the time. You know, I'm just done. I'm just done. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop wearing a mask or washing my hands or being aware of distancing in social settings. It means I am acutely aware of the limited mental and emotional resources that I have in dealing with all of this. 2 years. 2 years. More than 2 years. I'm aware of sadness, anxiety, and the social consequences of COVID on myself and people I love and people in the world. And I continue to find myself limiting my activities, keeping my proof of vaccination with me at all times, double masking in some situations that I feel particularly uneasy about. I'm in a spiritual place where it's hard for me to even consider what life might be like without COVID. And I don't know if I can even consider what I'm supposed to learn during this time. I just want it to be over. I know I'm whining here, but you know, lots of us are whining right now, and that. But you know, I listen to Lee Morris, and I think I want to embrace that song. I want to believe that anything is possible. I don't want to focus on what negative things might happen in 2022. I want to hold on to hope. As irrational as some people might think that is right now, I need hope. I think we all need hope, regardless of whether COVID wanes this year or not. So how do we keep the light of hope before us, inside of us, offering it to others? How do we do that? You know, in his book, You Are Not So Smart, David McRaney writes, the misconception is if you're in a bad situation, you will do whatever it takes to escape it. The truth is, if you feel like you aren't in control of your destiny, you will give up and accept whatever situation you're in. And that's kind of how it is right now, I believe. And they've done research on this. I want to tell you about the research, but I also want to say that, you know, back in the 60s, they did terrible things in research. And so I'm just forewarning you that what they did to find this out is not a nice thing. Psychologist, in 1965, Martin Seligman, started shocking dogs. He wanted to do this thing, you know, kind of be like Pavlov, you know, teaching the dogs new tricks kind of a thing. You know, when you'd ring the bell and they'd salivate. But he was going to go in the other direction. So what he wanted to do was, when he shocked the dogs, that they would, you know, try to escape. So what he did is he shocked them while he put them in restraint. And after they were conditioned, he put them in a box with a fence so that they could jump over it and get away from the shock. And then, you know, he rang this bell, which he'd done while he was shocking them. And when he rang the bell, his belief is the dogs would jump over the fence because they thought a shock was coming. But they didn't. They just sat there and braced themselves for the shock. He put other dogs in there, ones that hadn't been shocked, and they jumped out of the box. But the ones that had been trained to be shocked and heard the bell, well, they just girded their loins and held themselves together every time they heard the bell, unable to do anything. The theory goes that organisms desire to conserve their resources in stressful situations. And that's what the dogs were doing. They were trying to conserve their resources. So if you can't escape a source of stress, it leads to more stress. And this feedback loop eventually triggers an autonomic response. At its most extreme, you think you're struggling and struggling, hoping that you're not going to die. And what might be going on in an animal or a person is that if you stop struggling, there's a chance the bad thing will go away. Instead of trying to escape it, you just conserve your resources and hope that it goes away. Think about that in COVID and what we've been doing. We've just been holding on, for 2 years now, hoping that it'll go away. And it's just wore us down, making the stress even more as we try to hold on, just waiting for it to go away. Based on this research, should we all just give up? Let go of hope when things get too hard? Hope is irrational. Just if you think about it, it's not a rational concept. I don't know if you've read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. But when he was put in this Nazi concentration camp, and he survived when many other people didn't survive. And the way he survived was wholly irrational. He imagined his wife's image, just as acutely as he possibly could. Her smile, her frank and encouraging look, hearing the words that she said to him, real or not, experiencing her during this time was more luminous to him than the sun as it was beginning to rise. And it's not just him. There are these Nicaraguan women fighting against the Somoza government back many years ago. They wanted to be free and have a fair democracy and to abolish the detestable discrimination against women they'd suffered. Establish an equitable society. And they believed they could do this. They hoped irrationally that they could do this. And they fought for it for years, despite any discernible change in the Sandinista government and this entrenched machismo culture that they lived in. Irrational. What about Martin Luther King? He was wholly irrational. His family was shot at. His fellow African Americans were harassed. Some were murdered. Yet he continued to fight for equal rights because he believed the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. The true neighbor will risk his position, his prestige, even his life for the welfare of others. Frankl thought a lot about all of this. And he said, it is a peculiarity of humans that they can only live by looking to the future. As irrational as that might be. So what do we do about hope in the face of tragedy or disaster, pain, failure, suffering, COVID? Viktor Frankl suggested that we embrace tragic optimism. I know that we're all in a place right now where optimism can seem far from our lives. But we need a theology right now to help us cope with suffering, tragedy, failure. not to remain detached, not trying to just gird ourselves to get through it, not just living with suffering. And you know, I am not in a place to figure out the meaning of suffering right now. That's not going to help me right now. Or the meaning of this time in COVID. I'm just not there. And to think about, you know, this time being fertilizer for my own personal growth, I'm not there either right now. I need to find something. But I know it's hard. And I think back when I think about this, you know, this time of COVID and this constantly, you know, we get through one cycle and another, you know, and another and another. It reminds me of when I was down in Galveston, I met some people who worked at the University of Texas medical branch in Galveston. They had a burn unit there. And they told me about what people have to go through to get over burns. You know, these really bad third-degree burns. It's just horrible. I mean, what they do is they have to scrape the burns and then put salve on them. And some people, you know, they do what those dogs did. They just stiffen up, and even hours before this scraping happens, they're so stiffened up that, you know, they don't have the flexibility after they've gone through this whole process that they can move easily and be able to be the kind of person that they were before it happened. You know, I don't want to be stiffened up after all this COVID. You know, I don't want to be less than I was, or less than I could be. David McRaney, you remember him, he said if we stop struggling, maybe the problem will go away. You know, he said that. But he also said this: there are ways to cope. You don't have to give in to the helplessness or the hopelessness. He says, every day you feel like you can't control the forces affecting your fate, your job, your government, addiction, whatever. You need to stage micro-revolts. Customize your ringtone, paint your room, start a stamp collection. Do something. Choices, even small ones, can hold back the crushing weight of helplessness and hopelessness. But you can't stop there. You must fight back and learn to fail with pride. Failing often is the only way to ever get the things we want out of life. Besides death, your destiny is not inescapable. You are not so smart, but you are smarter than the dogs and rats we put through this experiment. So don't give in. McRaney affirms these micro-revolts. The choices, like Viktor Frankl made to imagine his wife. Was his hope based on his ability to imagine his wife irrational? Yes. But it helped him survive and to achieve and to stage micro-revolts throughout his time. Oops. While he was imprisoned. What is it to learn to fail with pride. I think it's essentially different from being proud you did your best, or if you don't succeed, try again. I think it speaks to those times we attempt something believing that we have no hope of succeeding, no hope of changing what's going on around us. I think of the women in Nicaragua fighting systemic oppression for equality. Every day they woke up, if they were lucky, if they had survived, knowing today they would fail, just like they failed yesterday, just like they would fail tomorrow. Day after day, month after month, year after year, they failed. Thousands died, failing with pride, knowing that someday, somehow, the granddaughters of their granddaughters might someday gain equality that they had failed to win for themselves. And so they were proud. And we feel proud, having survived COVID, achieving something with our lives, despite knowing that the world is not going to change around us, that COVID may or may not change. Can we still achieve something? Or if we fail at it, that we continue to try? American theologian Reinhold Niebuhr wrote, "Nothing worth doing is completed in one lifetime. Therefore we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore we are saved by love." Faith, hope, love. Perhaps this could be the irrational trinity for Unitarian Universalists. Perhaps it could be the trinity for us that's more luminous than the sun beginning to rise. I know this is a difficult time, but I hope for a better tomorrow, as rational or irrational as that might be. And I will continue to work for that, and I will continue to revolt against whatever restrictions COVID puts on me, whatever fear I might experience. I will do so with the knowledge that I will take care of myself and others. But I want hope. Hope shimmering under my sorrow, hope sparkling when there are tears in my eyes. Hope. It is a beautiful thing. And I believe beautiful things will not die.